Hello again! The fourth and last stages of the event is a bit tricky, and my teams needed adjustments to adapt to them.
Wings of darkness, come! I'll protect us.
The fourth stage's flavor text encourages Electro, but in reality, the stage buffs Hydro more. The stage gives Hydro a damage boost and more importantly, Hydro reactions create powerful shockwaves. Finally, the other buffs are just useless for the regular teams. So my solution is to use all the Hydro 4 stars, one for each team.
Let's dance. Shadow Raven, stand clear.
This may seem like it will make for very weak teams, but this Barbara Electro Charge deals incredible AoE damage. Barbara's Hydro Ring applies a lot of Hydro in AoE fights, and this causes a lot of reactions. And with the Hydro reaction shockwave, this team ends up with a great score.
Eyes on me.
Barbara isn't the best investment option, but with some creativity, she can be a good alternative for Electrocharge-focused teams. Barbara may have a lot of issues, namely energy generation, but if you have no better options, Barbara is a solid pick. For her build, she can go for reaction damage via Gilded Dreams, or use Ocean Heat Clam to deal decent AoE damage. We easily passed the 7k score, which will be helpful in making up for the lower scores the other teams will get.
Wings of darkness. Let's dance.
Thanks to this setup, we finish with an 8k score and well on our way to reaching the 20k mark for the platinum.
To ashes.
The Hyperbloom team is mostly the same, except that without Sucrose in the team, Haizu joins instead.
Our bond is strong.
He's still capable of grouping up these mobs of enemies, which is important to keeping DPS up. He can also go for an EM build in this comp, but it's not necessary for this stage for him to change gear.
Body and mind. Rain outlines your fate.
Like Barbara, he's a solid unit, just outshined by other units that offer more than he does.
Body and mind.
He's a versatile unit and very much worth a try if you haven't used him yet.
Out of my way.
As for the rest of the team, the event buffs only apply to Xingqiu.
Our bond is strong.
With the buff being used less,
Rain cutter.
the first team ends up having more damage. Still, this is a Hyperbloom team, and gets us over the 12k score easily.
Yeah, bring it on. Cyclone.
Dissipate. Witness the power of Gua.
Truth hurts. Get moving.
Just like we rehearsed. Lightning terrified.
We reach the 14k mark, giving plenty of breathing room for the next team. While Reverse Melt is powerful, this team is unable to use any event buff except for the Hydro Shockwave. With a buff down, this team struggles with the score. Candace is also the weakest Hydro unit in this situation. Her short-lived buff means that there's no Hydro for quite a long time, so we don't even get to use the shockwaves much either. And with her poor damage contribution and low utility means that bringing Candace is rather questionable. Still, she is the last 4-star Hydro, and we don't have many other alternatives.
Grant us your blessing.
Candace is a unit who I hesitate investing into, as she has such poor synergy and utility with everyone.
I'm going in.
It's a bit extreme, but she really does need that C6 to be considered as a functioning unit.
We shall prevail.
This event also highlights how few Hydro units we have.
Everybody stand back.
Inazuma has come and gone without a Hydro unit, while Candace was the first 4-star Hydro added since 1.0. I hope that the Nation of Water will give us a 4-star Hydro unit with decent application eventually.
Adventure time.
It's getting desperate already.
Teamwork is dreamwork. Let's light it up. I'm getting sick.
For now, all I can do is hope I get C6 Candace from random pulls. We barely reached the 20k score in time. This is definitely the hardest stage out of all. For this stage, the issue is grouping up enemies. The reverse melt team can usually be fine without an Anemo grouper, but this time, there's too many mobs. But Sucrose is here to help, pulling in waves after wave into Rosaria's and Xiangling's burst. This comp is very powerful and is one of the best 4-star only teams, but it does take away quite a lot of well-used units. These Electro Mega Churls will waste so much time by using their dive attack, moving them away from you. You really don't have a choice but to bait them to a nearby wall, instead of flying far away. Fortunately, we've already got quite the score thanks to the huge amount of Hilichurls defeated in the earlier waves.
Everybody stand back! Punishment! Swirl, Mark 2, stay clear. Right, Pip, it's the fire. Eat this! Judgment! Let's light it up!
We managed to squeeze out one more wave and got a very high score of 7,980. With Sucrose busy in the first team and Heisho in the second, Kaya becomes the grouper for the Hyper Bloom team.
Our bond is strong.
Freeze is very useful for keeping enemies down, and the enemy lineup on the later waves can be easily frozen. There's only a few ranged enemies, so all we have to do is prioritize them, and the melee will approach and get frozen as well. The elite enemies have come, but they spawn very close to one another, making them easy to freeze.
Rain outlines your fate. Witness the power of Troughs. Know my sword.
With the enemies frozen, they're trapped in Cole's burst, and we easily defeat a lot of waves, all in one spot. Kaya is rather underrated and I highly recommend trying him. His energy recharge ascension bonus makes him easy to build, and being an off-field unit, he's very versatile. While the Cryo 4-star lineup isn't as lacking as the Hydro one, we also don't have many 5-star Cryo carries, so having either Rosaria or Kaya is nice. We end with a 14k score, which is more than 2/3 of the way. The final team is a standard aggravate team, but without a healer. Enemies aren't aggressive enough, and Beidou provides enough protection, so we can use a very offensive team. If you want this team for the Abyss, simply replace Dendro main character with Yao Yao.
Wings of darkness. Eyes on me! By royal decree!
Midnight Phantasmagoria. Truth hurts. Germinate.
Power that ended hunt! Shadow Raven! Let night fall!
Propagate.
Another test cell.
To ashes. Cyclone. Fracture. As you wish, main Fräulein.
We've reached the 20k score. I've had fun with the less used 4-star units to solve the last 2 stages. I hope that we get another unique 4-star team in Fontaine, one which doesn't use the current members of our teams. That's all for now. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please consider subscribing. I am trying to get 100 subscribers before the year ends.